What happens when Hollywood's most beloved actress walks into what she thinks will be a friendly chat, only to find herself facing the most hostile interview of her career? Jennifer Lawrence thought she was coming on The View to promote her latest film, but Joy Behar had other plans. What started as routine questions quickly spiraled into a brutal confrontation that left the entire studio audience stunned. By the end of this interview, one woman would storm off set, and the other would be left defending her actions to millions of viewers. Before we dive into this explosive encounter, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think about celebrity interviews that go completely off the rails. The morning started like any other at The View studios. Jennifer Lawrence walked in with her usual confident stride, wearing a sleek black blazer and that signature smile that had charmed audiences for over a decade. She'd done this routine dozens of times before. Promotional interviews were part of the job, and The View was usually a safe space for celebrities to share their projects and connect with viewers. But something felt different today. As Jennifer settled into the guest chair, she noticed Joy Behar's expression. There was no warmth in her eyes, no welcoming smile. Instead, Joy sat rigid in her seat, papers shuffled in front of her, wearing what could only be described as a predatory grin. "Welcome back to The View, everyone. We're here with Jennifer Lawrence," Joy began, her voice carrying an edge that immediately put Jennifer on alert. "Jennifer, thanks for being here, though I have to say, some of your recent comments have been quite interesting." Jennifer's smile flickered slightly. "Thanks for having me, Joy. I'm excited to talk about the new film." "Oh, we'll get to that," Joy said, waving her hand dismissively. "But first, let's talk about your comments regarding the wage gap in Hollywood. You've been quite vocal about being underpaid compared to your male co-stars." "Well, yes," Jennifer replied carefully. "I think it's important to have these conversations about equality in the workplace." Joy leaned forward, her voice taking on a mocking tone. "Equality? Jennifer, you made $25 million last year. Most Americans would kill for a fraction of that. Don't you think complaining about your salary is a little tone-deaf?" The studio fell silent. Jennifer's publicist, sitting in the wings, shifted uncomfortably in her seat. This wasn't the direction anyone had expected the interview to take. "I think you're missing the point," Jennifer said, her voice remaining steady but her posture straightening. "This isn't about the actual dollar amount. It's about the principle of equal pay for equal work." "Oh, please," Joy scoffed, rolling her eyes dramatically. "You're one of the highest-paid actresses in the world, and you're sitting here talking about being a victim. Do you have any idea how that sounds to single mothers working 2 jobs just to put food on the table?" Jennifer's jaw tightened. "Joy, I never said I was a victim. I said there's a systemic issue in the industry that affects all women, not just me. The fact that I'm successful doesn't mean I should stay silent about inequality." "Systemic issue?" Joy's voice rose. "You voluntarily signed contracts, Jennifer. Nobody forced you to take those roles. You had agents, lawyers, managers. If you felt you were worth more, why didn't you negotiate better?" The other co-hosts exchanged uncomfortable glances. Whoopi Goldberg cleared her throat, attempting to intervene. "Maybe we should." "No, let her answer." Joy cut her off sharply. "I want to hear how someone who's made millions feels justified complaining about her paycheck." Jennifer's face flushed, but she maintained her composure. "Because negotiation happens in a system where women are already at a disadvantage. When men negotiate, they're seen as strong business people. When women do it, we're labeled as difficult or demanding." "Oh, here we go with the victim narrative again," Joy said, throwing her hands up theatrically. "Jennifer, you're a grown woman who made choices. Own them. Don't blame society for your decisions." "I'm not playing victim," Jennifer shot back, her voice finally showing strain. "I'm trying to use my platform to highlight issues that affect women across all industries, not just Hollywood." Joy laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the studio. "Your platform? Jennifer, your platform is built on playing make-believe for a living. You dress up in costumes and pretend to be other people. Maybe stick to what you know instead of lecturing the rest of us about workplace equality." The audience gasped audibly. Jennifer's hands clenched in her lap, her knuckles white against the dark fabric of her pants. "That's incredibly dismissive," Jennifer said, her voice now carrying a dangerous edge. "Acting is my profession, and like any profession, it deserves respect. More importantly, having a public platform comes with responsibility, whether you're an actor, a talk show host, or anyone else with a voice that people listen to." Joy's eyes narrowed. Responsibility? Like the responsibility to be grateful for opportunities most people will never have? Like the responsibility to not bite the hand that feeds you? The hand that feeds me? Jennifer repeated incredulously. "Joy, I work for my success. I've been acting since I was 14 years old. I've earned every opportunity through dedication and hard work. And luck," Joy interjected coldly. "Let's not forget luck. Plenty of talented people never make it. You won the genetic lottery with your looks and got discovered at the right time. Don't pretend it was all merit." Jennifer stared at Joy in disbelief. "I can't believe what I'm hearing right now." "Believe it," Joy said, leaning back with satisfaction. "I'm saying what everyone's thinking. You're privileged, Jennifer. Extraordinarily privileged. And watching you complain about getting paid millions instead of slightly more millions is nauseating." "This interview is supposed to be about my new film," Jennifer said, her voice trembling with controlled anger. "Why are you attacking me personally?" "I'm not attacking you," Joy replied with false sweetness. "I'm asking you to have some perspective, some humility, some awareness of how your complaints sound to people struggling to pay rent." Jennifer took a deep breath, clearly trying to regain her composure. "I understand that I'm fortunate. I've never denied that. But fortune doesn't disqualify me from advocating for fairness. If anything, it gives me more responsibility to speak up." "Speak up?" Joy's voice dripped with disdain. "Jennifer, you're not Rosa Parks. You're not fighting for civil rights. You're a millionaire actress, upset that you didn't get a bigger piece of an already enormous pie." The comparison hit Jennifer like a slap. Her face went pale, then flushed red with anger. "How dare you?" she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper but carrying enough force to silence the entire studio. "How dare you?" she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper but carrying enough force to silence the entire studio. "How dare you compare my situation to civil rights leaders and then mock it? You just diminished both my concerns and their legacy in one breath." Joy's smile faltered for just a moment before returning full force. "Oh, so now I'm not allowed to point out the obvious differences between real struggles and Hollywood problems?" "You're allowed to point out whatever you want," Jennifer said, her voice growing stronger. "But don't you dare sit there and tell me what I can and cannot care about. Don't you dare tell me that success means I have to be silent about injustice." "Injustice?" Joy laughed again, the sound even more grating than before. "Jennifer, do you hear yourself? You're calling your contract negotiations injustice while people are fighting for basic human rights around the world." Jennifer stood up abruptly, her chair rolling back with the force. "That's it. That's exactly the problem right there. You're telling me I can't care about multiple issues at once. You're telling me that because I'm successful, I should shut up and be grateful. That's not how progress works, Joy." "Sit down," Joy commanded, her voice sharp. "We're not done here." "Actually, we are," Jennifer shot back, remaining standing. "I came here to talk about my work, not to be lectured by someone who clearly has no interest in having an actual conversation." Joy's face darkened. "Excuse me? I'm conducting this interview, not you. This is my show." "Then conduct it professionally," Jennifer fired back. "Stop grandstanding for your audience and actually engage with what I'm saying instead of twisting my words." The other co-host sat frozen, unsure whether to intervene. The camera operators kept rolling, knowing they were capturing television gold. "Grandstanding?" Joy's voice rose to near shouting level. "I'm asking you legitimate questions about your public statements. And you can't handle it because nobody's ever challenged you before." "Nobody's ever challenged me?" Jennifer's eyes flashed with genuine anger. "Joy, I've been in the public eye for 15 years. I've faced criticism, scrutiny, and judgment every single day. But what you're doing isn't challenging me. It's ambushing me." "An ambush?" Joy stood up now, too, matching Jennifer's posture. I'm asking you to defend your positions. If you can't do that, maybe you shouldn't take those positions publicly. I can defend my positions just fine, Jennifer said, her voice steady and strong. Equal pay for equal work isn't a radical concept, Joy. It's basic fairness. The fact that you're treating it like some entitled Hollywood whining says more about you than it does about me. Joy's nostrils flared. Don't you lecture me about fairness, young lady. I've been working in television longer than you've been alive. I've fought real battles for women's rights, not complained about getting 8 figures instead of 9. And I respect that, Jennifer said, surprising everyone with her sudden shift to sincerity. I genuinely do. But your experience doesn't give you the right to dismiss other women's experiences. It should make you more understanding, not more judgmental. Joy was momentarily taken aback by the genuine tone, but quickly recovered her hostility. Understanding? Of what? Your struggle to buy a third mansion? The cheap shot clearly stung. Jennifer's composure cracked slightly. You know what, Joy? This isn't about money, and you know it. This is about respect. This is about recognition. This is about the principle that talent and contribution should determine compensation, not gender. Principle? Joy scoffed. Jennifer, you live in a bubble. You have assistants who handle your daily life, stylists who dress you, drivers who take you everywhere. Don't talk to me about principles when you've never lived in the real world. Jennifer's eyes narrowed dangerously. The real world? Joy. I grew up in Kentucky. My family struggled financially. I worked multiple jobs before I got my first acting role. I know exactly what the real world looks like, and I know exactly how lucky I am to have escaped it. But escaping it doesn't mean I have to abandon everyone still in it. Oh, please. Joy waved her hand dismissively. You were 14 when you started acting. You've been coddled by Hollywood for your entire adult life. Coddled? Jennifer's voice cracked with disbelief. Joy, do you have any idea what it's like to be a young woman in this industry? Do you know about the casting couches, the inappropriate comments, the constant judgment of your appearance? Do you know about the eating disorders, the anxiety, the pressure to be perfect every single moment? Joy rolled her eyes dramatically. Spare me the sob story, Jennifer. Every industry has its challenges. You're right, Jennifer said, her voice becoming dangerously calm. Every industry does. But not every industry pays women 70 cents for every dollar a man makes. Not every industry has such a glaring, documented disparity that can be measured in actual numbers. Those statistics are misleading. Joy shot back. They don't account for different roles, different experience levels, different negotiating skills. Jennifer stared at her in amazement. Different negotiating skills? Joy, listen to yourself. You're literally proving my point. You're saying women are paid less because they're worse at negotiating, not because they're valued less. Maybe they are worse at negotiating, Joy said with a shrug. Maybe they need to learn to stand up for themselves instead of complaining after the fact. The studio audience began murmuring among themselves, clearly uncomfortable with Joy's comments. Even the production assistants were exchanging worried glances. Stand up for themselves? Jennifer repeated slowly. Joy, what do you think I'm doing right now? What do you think speaking out about pay equity is? It's exactly that. Standing up for myself and every other woman who's been told to just be grateful for whatever scraps they're offered. Scraps? Joy's voice reached a new octave. You call $25 million scraps? When my male co-star made $40 million for the same film? Yes, I do, Jennifer said firmly. It's not about the absolute number. It's about the relative value placed on our contributions. Joy shook her head in apparent disgust. This is exactly what's wrong with your generation, Jennifer. Everything has to be perfectly equal, perfectly fair. Life isn't fair. Business isn't fair. Deal with it. Life isn't fair, but that doesn't mean we should stop trying to make it more fair, Jennifer countered. That's literally the point of progress. That's why we have laws against discrimination. That's why we fight for civil rights. That's why people like you, supposedly, got into journalism in the first place. The barb about journalism hit its mark, Joy's face flushed red. "Don't you dare question my journalism credentials, you little princess." The insult hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Jennifer went very still, her expression shifting from anger to something much more dangerous. "Little princess?" she repeated quietly. "Did you just call me a little princess on national television?" "Little princess?" she repeated quietly. "Did you just call me a little princess on national television?" The studio went dead silent. Even the camera operators seemed to hold their breath. Joy realized immediately that she had crossed a line, but her pride wouldn't let her back down. "If the shoe fits," Joy said defiantly, though her voice lacked its earlier confidence. Jennifer took a step closer to Joy's desk, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than any shout could have. "Let me tell you something about this little princess, Joy. This little princess has worked 18-hour days since she was 14 years old. This little princess has dealt with anxiety so severe she couldn't leave her house some days. This little princess has had grown men comment on her body since she was barely legal. This little princess has been called difficult, demanding, and ungrateful for asking for the same treatment her male colleagues receive without question." Joy shifted uncomfortably but tried to maintain her defiant stance. "Everyone has problems, Jennifer." "You're right," Jennifer continued, her voice still eerily calm. "Everyone does have problems. But not everyone has the platform to address them. Not everyone has the privilege of being heard. So when someone like me speaks up about inequality, it's not whining, it's responsibility." "Responsibility to whom?" Joy challenged, though her voice was noticeably quieter now. "To every young actress who will come after me," Jennifer said, her passion evident despite her controlled tone. "To every woman in every industry who's been told to be grateful for less. To my younger self, who signed contracts without understanding her worth because nobody taught her to know better." Joy attempted to regain control of the interview. "Look, Jennifer, all I'm saying is that perspective matters, context matters." "Context?" Jennifer's voice finally rose again. "You want context, Joy? Here's some context for you. While you're sitting here attacking me for speaking out about pay equity, there are actresses right now, sitting in meetings with producers, being offered a fraction of what their male co-stars make. And they're staying quiet because they've watched interviews like this one, where successful women are torn down for daring to ask for equal treatment." "That's not what I'm doing," Joy protested weakly. "Isn't it?" Jennifer challenged. "You just called me entitled, ungrateful, privileged, and a little princess for having the audacity to say I deserve equal pay for equal work. How is that not tearing me down?" Joy looked around the studio, suddenly aware that the audience, her co-hosts, and even the production staff were staring at her with expressions ranging from disappointment to disgust. "I'm just trying to provide balance to the conversation." "Balance?" Jennifer laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Joy, there's a difference between balance and hostility. There's a difference between playing devil's advocate and personal attacks. You've spent this entire interview trying to diminish my concerns instead of engaging with them." "I have engaged with them," Joy insisted desperately. "I've asked you tough questions." "No," Jennifer said firmly. "You've made assumptions about my character, dismissed my experiences, and mocked my concerns. That's not journalism, Joy. That's bullying." The word bullying seemed to hit Joy like a physical blow. "Bullying? I'm not bullying you. I'm challenging you." "You're challenging me?" Jennifer's voice was incredulous. "Joy, you've called me tone, deaf, entitled, lucky, privileged, ungrateful, and a little princess. You've mocked my profession, dismissed my work ethic, and minimized my experiences. You've compared my advocacy to complaining and suggested I should just shut up and be grateful. If that's your idea of challenging someone, I'd hate to see what you consider an attack." Joy opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. For the first time in the interview, she seemed genuinely speechless. Jennifer pressed her advantage. "And you know what's really sad about this, Joy? You're a woman. You're a woman in media, an industry that has its own issues with gender equality. You should understand better than anyone what I'm talking about. Instead, you're perpetuating the exact same attitudes that have held women back for decades." "I've fought for women's rights my entire career," Joy said weakly. "Have you?" Jennifer asked pointedly. Or have you fought for the rights of women who look like you, sound like you, and agree with you? Because right now you're attacking a woman for advocating for equality. You're telling her to be quiet and grateful. How is that fighting for women's rights? Joy's face had gone pale. The fight seemed to have gone out of her completely. I just think there are more important issues. More important to whom? Jennifer demanded. More important than equality? More important than fairness? More important than ensuring that talented women are valued equally to talented men? There are people dying, Jennifer, Joy said, grasping for one last argument. There are wars, poverty, real injustices happening. Jennifer shook her head in disbelief. Joy, do you realize what you just did? You just used the existence of other problems to dismiss this problem. By that logic, we should never address anything unless it's the single most important issue in the world. That's not how progress works. That's not how society improves. Joy stared down at her desk, unable to meet Jennifer's eyes. Jennifer's voice softened slightly, but remained firm. I came here today excited to talk about my work, to connect with your audience, to share something I'm passionate about. Instead, I've been subjected to an interview that felt more like an interrogation. You've questioned my character, my motivations, and my right to speak out about issues that affect millions of women. She paused, looking around the studio one last time. You know what, Joy? You're right about one thing. I am privileged. I am extraordinarily lucky. I am grateful every single day for the opportunities I've had. But my privilege doesn't disqualify me from caring about equality. If anything, it obligates me to care more. Jennifer turned to address the camera directly. To anyone watching this who's ever been told they're too successful to complain, too privileged to advocate for others, too lucky to want better, don't listen to that. Your success doesn't invalidate your right to speak out against inequality. Your privilege doesn't disqualify you from fighting for those still struggling. And your gratitude for what you have doesn't mean you have to accept less than you deserve. She looked back at Joy, who was still staring at her desk in apparent shame. Thank you for having me on the show, Joy. I hope your next interview goes better for both of you. With that, Jennifer walked off the set, leaving Joy sitting alone at the desk, facing a studio full of people who had just witnessed one of the most uncomfortable interviews in television history. Whoopi Goldberg finally broke the silence. Well, that was something, she said quietly into her microphone. We're going to take a quick commercial break. As the cameras stopped rolling, Joy remained seated, staring at the papers in front of her, while the audience buzzed with shocked conversation. The interview that was supposed to be a simple promotional appearance had turned into a masterclass on dignity, advocacy, and standing up for yourself in the face of unwarranted hostility. Jennifer Lawrence had walked onto that set as a movie star promoting her latest film. She walked off as something more, a woman who had refused to be diminished, dismissed, or silenced. And Joy Behar was left to contemplate whether her idea of tough journalism had crossed the line into something much uglier. So what do you think? Was Joy's approach legitimate journalism, or did she go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories about the moments when Hollywood interviews go completely off the rails.